Dynamite. It occurred. A lot happened this week, actually. I'm very surprised. Still, not much I needed to see, but a lot happened, and we're going to be here to talk about it. So let's get into it. Dynamite, October the 25th, 2023. Only note is Adam Cole apparently had surgery on both of his ankles. And he said this has been the most emotionally challenging injury of his career. I feel like he said that about the concussion too. So it seems like it's getting worse and worse every time. Every time he has a serious injury, a serious setback, it's becoming harder and harder to come back from them. And that's just, age. But it's also mentally damaging too. I mean, this is a guy, and I'm pretty sure when he was on the independents and wrestling for all those years, he probably rarely got hurt, if ever. Now he's probably making more money than he's ever made before, and he can't stay healthy. I know that's got to be mentally frustrating, very frustrating. So while I want to make fun of him, I understand. And haven't seen it happen to so many wrestlers, from guys like Kerry Von Erich and Brian Pillman to so many others, to when you're about to break through and start making the most money you've ever made, to be a top guy or a main event guy, to suffer a huge injury, a huge setback that's going to get you out of the ring for months and months and months. I get it. I've seen plenty of careers be derailed, and it's very tough. And Adam Cole to have been around for so long, it's kind of, we do have to ask. If you want to be honest and be fair, we were saying 2 years ago that his body looked frail. We were saying it 2 years ago. He had lost a tremendous amount of weight. He looked skinny. He looked like he hadn't worked out. He looked sick. He still wasn't looking that great recently. But this was around Forbidden Door, I think, last year. And he ended up getting that crazy concussion that put him on the shelf for months. That people thought was a career-ending concussion. And now, just a short amount of time after his return, we got this ankle injury. The one where he, I guess, broke his foot or broke his ankle when he jumped off the ramp. And considering AEW is a place where guys do dives like literally 70% of the time, for you to do a simple jump off the ramp and shatter your ankle just sounds like you are made of glass, like you're fragile. So I get it. I understand. But you have to start asking questions. I think this is the third surgery he's had since he's been in AEW. And he's only been there like 2 years. 2, maybe 3. Didn't he have a shoulder injury too, I think, when he was in AEW? He's had several injuries since he's been in AEW. And you have to start beginning to ask the question. It's probably got something to do with his preparation at this point. You just have to ask the question, is he physically prepared or physically still able to go? Without preparing his body more, putting on more weight, working out his body a little bit more than he usually does. And I know we were talking about this before, and it kind of got shunned, it got poo-pooed. But when you're looking at these injuries, especially for Adam Cole, as they pile up, you got to start asking questions, man. I think you do anyway. I know AEW has a lot of people who get injured a lot. Phoenix gets injured a lot. Danielson gets injured a lot. I know there's guys who get injured a lot in AEW, but Adam Cole is a specific case because each time he's like, this is the most challenging and injury I've ever had to face. This is so hard emotionally. And it's like, there's not going to be too many more of those before you just decide it's not worth coming back from it. And considering there were such high hopes for a guy like him, he's got to push through. And part of pushing through is to try to make sure this kind of stuff doesn't happen again. And that means he's probably going to have to, prepare more. And that might mean he's going to have to work a little bit harder on his physique, build his body up, and actually take care of himself in terms of the bumps he takes and modify his style a little bit. And I know that probably sucks to hear for AEW fans. I'm like, oh no, you want him to work like he's Omos. It's like, nah. But everybody has seen that this stuff just leads to a lot of injuries. He's got to take it easy. He's got to slow down. He's no spring chicken. I mean, he's not 50, but he's been doing this a long time. And I think he's been doing this since he was in his early 20s or late teens or something like that. I think he's in his mid 30s now. You've been doing this for a long time, man. You know, you deserve, especially at this level, you already had your name and your reputation. You deserve to spend your time collecting as much money as you possibly can. Why be an idiot, go out there and injure yourself, you know, or have your body break down on you? Your body's your money maker at this point. You gotta do better. All right. So our second note, because I just remembered about this. Chris Jericho, yes, our good buddy Chris Irvin, put his name on a list of names of Hollywood celebrities who signed an open letter to Joe Biden, thanking him for his leadership and calling for the release of hostages. So Chris Jericho's name, literally Chris Jericho, is on the same list as Chris Rock, Adam and Jackie Sandler, Amy Schumer, Ben Stiller, Bradley Cooper, Lana Del Rey, which I know pissed off a lot of people for some reason, Sharon Stone, Will Ferrell, Zack Snyder, Justin Timberlake, Jerry Seinfeld, so many others. It's Gwyneth Paltrow, Josh Brolin. There's just so many people here. And Chris Jericho is literally the only wrestler whose name appears on this list. And what does this letter say, and what does it want? Let's read it together before I discuss it. Dear President Biden, we are heartened by Friday's release of 2 American hostages and by today's release of 2 Israelis whose husbands remain in captivity. I skipped over the names because I'm going to butcher them, and I don't want to do that. But our relief is tempered by our overwhelming concern that 220 innocent people, including 30 children, remain captive by terrorists, threatened with torture and death. They were taken by Hamas in the savage massacre of October the 7th, where over 1,400 Israelis were slaughtered, women raped, families burned alive, and infants beheaded. Thank you for your unshakable moral conviction, leadership, and support for the Jewish people. We have been terrorized by Hamas since the group's founding over 35 years ago, and for the Palestinians who have also been terrorized, oppressed, and victimized by Hamas for the last 17 years that the group has been governing Gaza. We all want the same thing: freedom for Israelis and Palestinians to live side by side in peace. Freedom from the brutal violence spread by Hamas, and most urgently in this moment, freedom for the hostages. We urge everyone, We urge everyone to not rest until all hostages are released. No hostage can be left behind. And then it says whether, and it gives a list of countries or otherwise, we need to bring them home. Now, quite a few of the people on this list are Jewish. Adam Sandler is Jewish. Jerry Seinfeld is Jewish. Who else is Jewish on this list that I know? Well, if their name ends with Berg, they're Jewish. Oh, Puff Daddy is on this list. I didn't know that. Quite a few people on here are Jewish. Michael Rappaport is Jewish. So this kind of got him some negative attention from the wrestling fans, mainly because it's seemingly pro-Israel and it's anti-Hamas, and Hamas equals the Palestinians, which doesn't necessarily have to be the case, but people are saying that. And so Chris Jericho's in the middle of another firestorm, similar to when his wife popped up on January 6th, or when he gave money to Trump, or anything else. So now the AEW fan base has even more reason to hate Chris Jericho. But I can't look at this and say that there's anything wrong. He's calling for the release of hostages, whomever they be held by. And I don't see a problem with that. I don't think that, unless you have something on them, this becomes like the Guantanamo Bay situation all over again. If you have some kind of evidence that they were committing crimes or attacking people or working to destabilize a civilization, charge them with a crime. If not, why the hell are we having them hostage? I just don't see the benefit of that. You know, I didn't see the benefit of just throwing guys in Guantanamo Bay and just leaving them there. It's like, well, I get it. You know, you want to try to figure out whether the guy's a criminal or not, but we need to figure this stuff out. We can't just leave people to be tortured and terrorized or whatever. And that is immoral. I don't know if I would be thanking Joe Biden for his unshakable moral conviction. I don't think I would be saying that. But I mean, that's a bit much. I wouldn't put my name on this paper, I can tell you that. But Chris Jericho did. So if you see some negativity around Chris Jericho within the next couple of days, you'll know what it's about. It's because Jericho was adamantly pro-Israel at a time where that's not exactly politically convenient. But leave it to Chris Jericho to get himself in the middle of this whole thing for it to come about him in the wrestling space. But, you know, there is a lot of people who are going through, especially people who are more on the left, they are going through nitpicking and finding their favorite celebrity on there and grasping their pearls. I just looked at it and was like, okay, who wrote this thing? You know, and how did his name get on it? Like, was it like an email chain? Like, do you want to sign this petition? Like, how did this thing come to be? You know, that Chris Jericho's name ended up in the same group like Jerry Seinfeld, Paul Rudd, etc. Like, how did that come to be? You know, I don't know, but it happened, and I'm not making a separate video about it, even though I intended to. So we're just gonna move on. I agree, free all the hostages. I don't care if they're Palestinian or Israeli, though. Move on. Let's go. Let's start with Dynamite. The first 30 minutes of this show was all MJF. Now, I'm going to say this is a positive and it's a negative. It's a positive because he finally is acting like the world champion. He's finally being treated like the world champion. And that's more than you can say for Monday Night Raw, where a guy is the world champion, yet he spends most of his time laughing and cross-dressing and singing. Which, I got to tell you, not my favorite. Even though I like the guy as a performer, not my favorite way that they're booking him. Anyway, we start the show with MJF making a phone call. He's calling his good buddy Adam Cole. Roderick Strong screams, "Max! Max!" in order to get his attention. Adam Cole hears Roderick Strong on speaker, very quickly hangs up. Roderick Strong then said that he is going to help MJF. And MJF rolls him away because Roderick Strong is still in a wheelchair for no reason. He then looked at the camera and told Jay White he's going to send him a message in blood. Then he says he got a bullet with Juice Robinson's name on it. Great promo at the end. Afterwards, the devil mask person shows up, and he doesn't say or do anything. He just kind of seems to have control over the feed to the television. Whatever. Moving on. First match, MJF versus Juice Robinson. Juice Robinson was beat bloody, which was cool for me because I dislike Juice Robinson very much. But this match felt like it was going on forever. Because at first, MJF was dominating the match. And when there was one-on-one, MJF was essentially dominating the match, which is the right thing to do in terms of the babyface and the heel. The most over part of the match was the kangaroo kick, and I think they should have ended it right after the kangaroo kick. At some point, they should have worked into the finish. Why they continue to have more stuff after that, which was kind of the high point of the match, goes to show that, you know, people are pushing rope. You know, you've already reached your climax and you're still trying to go. The finish of this whole thing, of course, comes with Juice Robinson trying to punch MJF with the TJ Maxx ring, only to get ducked and punched in the face with the Dynamite Diamond ring. Then I think he did the Heat Seeker or something to pin him, Juice Robinson. So Juice Robinson failed, like he always fails. His storyline with MJF is over. They completely crisis averted when it comes to the whole anti-Semitic storyline. Of course, I put that in scare quotes. And that's it. You know, it's over. Then the Guns jumped MJF post-match. The Kingdom came down to save him. They got fought off because Roderick Strong never got out of the wheelchair. The Acclaim then came down there and they all chased the Bullet Club Gold guys off. So afterwards, Jay White got on the microphone, says that MJF needs to put behind him the tag team championships, his devil mask, all these other things he's got going on. He needs to focus on Jay White. Says that he's never going to get his belt back, and that he's going to show him at Full Gear how this thing really is done. The Guns didn't get on the microphone, challenge MJF to a Ring of Honor Tag Team Championship match because he's got those belts too. MJF accepted the challenge of the Guns, so he's going to wrestle twice again on Full Gear. He's going to defend the Ring of Honor Tag Team titles, presumably by himself, and he's going to wrestle Jay White for the world title on the same night. Weird decision making here. MJF then accepted the Bullet Club Gold's challenge for an 8-man tag match in order to get back the Triple B, his championship belt. At that point, Roderick Strong, Max, from the floor, by the way. He's still in his wheelchair. Like, he refused to get out of his wheelchair. Max says, look, I can hear you. We're right here. Then Roderick Strong's like, clearly you're going to pick us. You're going to pick the Kingdom to be your partners. MJF told him to put Taven and Bennett on his lap and roll the hell out of here, and called him a bland bitch. Then Max Caster says, well, I guess it's going to be us then. I guess it's going to be the Acclaim. We're going to be your partners. And MJF says he's known Max Caster since he was 18 years old. And by he, I mean MJF. So, like, I've known you since I was 18 years old. And he says that the two of them are not friends, and he will never be in a tag team with Max Caster. Never. And therefore, he walked off. And he was muttering to himself about something. As he was trying to walk off, Max Caster wanted to scissor him. MJF wanted none of that. This is very weird stuff we got going on here with Max Caster. As MJF is walking up the ramp, he comes face to face with Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega cuts an absolutely dreadful promo that featured some stuff that if Roman Reigns had said it, people would have been like, oh, this is the worst promo of all time, like the Suffer and Succotash stuff. People never let that go. But Kenny Omega can say some of the biggest shit possible in a promo, and people will be like, he's a great wrestler. I love Kenny Omega so much. It's like, what? Did you hear this guy? Did you hear him cut this promo? Gee golly gosh, bucko. Like, what the? This man, you know what? I'm becoming allergic to Canadians. Like, I've had a problem with Canadians for a long time. Really, really, really long time. Since I was a kid. You know, I used to watch CBC, Mr. Dress Up, and, the Pokeroo and all that kind of stuff. You know, I was inundated quite a bit with Canadian television. You know, I actually learned that Z was pronounced Z. It took me a while to shake that off. So I'm traumatized by Canadians from time to time. And so it's like Scott D'Amore and Kenny Omega, like these guys, they're not helping. All right. They're not helping like Bret Hart really helped me appreciate Canadians in a very unique way. But like the Kenny Omega, Scott D'Amore sect of Canada, you know, the Trudeau sect, they make me want to just set fire to the river so that it can never be crossed between Detroit and Canada. You know, it's ridiculous, bro. Like, he said, gee golly gosh. What? Out of his own mouth. Anyway, Kenny Omega wants a championship match. He wants to defend his streak, his title run. He wants to defend it. He reserves the right to defend it. And if MJF is the scumbag that the people want, he's going to accept the match. So MJF does accept the match for Collision. So Collision, Kenny Omega versus MJF. This led to a lot of chitter chatter on the internet with people saying, is this the right venue for this match? This is a huge match. MJF versus Kenny Omega. This could be big. You could sell his pay-per-views for this. They're doing this for a very specific person, not just to pop a TV rating, but they're trying to prevent, or create a story in which MJF has to beat Omega in order to beat Omega's record. you can't wait for a pay-per-view in order to do that. You know, I think the record is broken next week, and so the only opportunity they have to do it is Collision. And since Tony Khan doesn't really give a shit about, he pretty much can guess that the pay-per-view buys are going to be the same, whether Kenny Omega's in the main event, Claudio Castagnoli, Jay White, or whoever. There's pretty much going to be the same amount of buys, regardless of who's in the main event. And as long as he's got that mind state, it doesn't matter who's in the main event. All right? So, like, you could have had MJF wrestle the Guns on Collision. That way he could have gotten that Ring of Honor Tag Team Championship thing out of the way. But they decided to go with this. Now, as a guy who wants AEW to succeed, I would say this is something you could have spent some time building and something you certainly could have made some money off of. As a person who has watched AEW give away Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega on television, and then they wrestled for an hour, and then they did the same thing with Danielson versus Hangman, I say this is par for the course. Tony Khan just wants to put this kind of stuff on TV because in his mind, this is what made WCW famous. This is what made the old NWA Jim Crockett Promotions famous. And this is something that they talked about a little bit later with Ric Flair and Sting. 55 minutes between Hogan and Sting. This is what he envisions wrestling is. He's looking at the Sabu, Terry Funk, Shane Douglas match, the three-way that went an hour in ECW. I don't know if he was there for that. I don't think so. He was probably in New York or Philadelphia. But that's what he envisions wrestling is. He's not looking at it in terms of the big moments that can be created, the magical stories that can be told. It's a good reason to have a match too. I'm not even against the reason why they're having the match. But I'm looking at it and saying to myself, Tony Khan don't care. AEW does not have to make a lot of money because he's got a lot of money. He's got more money than he can spend. So he's going to be okay. But if I would suggest that if you're a person who who is in a business and you want to make money, you would save these kinds of matches for pay-per-view where you can upcharge for it. But okay. Anyway, MJF then is later after he accepts Kenny Omega's challenge. He is confronted by Samoa Joe later. Samoa Joe says, "You're like a man who needs friends. I could be a friend to you." What was that? Was that Shawshank Redemption? When they walked up to him, "You need friends in here. I could be a friend to you." And it was all about butt rape. That's that's the vibe I got. Look, that's the thing about AEW, man. Pause, by the way. But that's the thing about AEW, bro. There's a underlining rainbow flaggish aspect to a lot of the stuff going on in this show. So when Samoa Joe walked up to him like, "You look like a man who could use some friends," I was like, I could be a friend to you. I was like, oh. Don't drop the soul, partner. Anyway, MJF accepted Samoa Joe's friendship, even on the condition that he has to give Samoa Joe a rematch, which is fine. So everybody is after the world title. Jay White wants it. Kenny Omega wants it. Samoa Joe wants it. The Guns want to fight him for the Ring of Honor tag team titles. So MJF has tons of enemies all over the place. He feels like the main character of the show, which is great. Most of the storylines are serious, but almost none of them are immediate. The Kenny Omega thing has a air of immediacy to it because it's based on time. But there's no reason why, Samoa Joe has to help MJF or get a title shot immediately. But it's all very interesting because we don't know who his partners are going to be. Is he going to pick the Kingdom? Is he going to break down and pick the Acclaimed? He's got a week. So he's pretty much going to come up with this answer probably on Collision. And if I had to venture a guess, I would say it's probably going to be the Elite. If I had to, venture a guess, I would say it's probably going to be the Elite, or it's going to be FTR and somebody else. I don't know if FTR and Edge, but it'll be somebody. But it's going to be interesting seeing how they come to him picking partners. All right. The MJF stuff is pretty interesting on this show. Too bad there's not much else that's interesting on this show. And they milked that MJF stuff as much as possible. He was on this show a lot. Wardlow cut a promo. You would think they would do this before he came back, or they would have done this weeks ago, months ago, actually. So Wardlow had a vignette where he talked. 4 months home was not good for him. He was not nursing an injury. He was not taking time off. He was just sitting at home stewing, watching a guy who destroyed his life and took so much away from him become the fan's hero. Watch this guy main event the biggest wrestling show in the history of the business. Put an asterisk right there. And he says that the devil has had claws in his back all this time, taking things away from him. But now he's going to take things back from MJF. And I said, you know what? Okay. I wish they would have done this weeks ago. I wish they would have done this weeks ago. I hate that, his comeback came. His comeback has kind of flopped in so much that nobody really cares right now. It's good to have him on TV. Don't get me wrong. But nobody really has any feelings about Wardlow being back because he hasn't done anything. And instead of making people care about Wardlow being back by showing this vignette and then having him return and then having him get in the face of MJF, and I get it. You can't have everybody fight MJF at once. There's just too many people going after him right now. And they're setting this up to be something later. And perhaps for their World's End new pay-per-view that they're creating. But I look at it and saying, you definitely should have had Wardlow heated up by now. You could have had this thing at a fever pitch by now. And people want to see MJF fight Wardlow, Wardlow fight MJF. Instead, people are kind of like, oh, Wardlow's back. That's nice. But the storyline was 2 years ago. And, MJF's been a babyface for the last 5 months or whatever. We don't really want to see MJF get beat up anymore, right? So now Wardlow has to turn heel because people don't really want to watch MJF get beat up anymore. So you missed the boat. Now, it's an interesting way to turn people heel. Like, he might be your scumbag, but he's a scumbag to me, But I don't feel like there's enough behind this. I just feel like something is missing. And I definitely think part of it is Wardlow was brought back with no fanfare, and he's just been beating up jobbers. And if you blink, you missed it. And this vignette, even though it was welcome, it was short. So, whatever. Hook and Rob Van Dam defeated the Dark Order. This was stupid. What a stupid match. Rob Van Dam went on his podcast, and he mentioned that he was unbooked from WrestleMania 40 when he was booked for this show. And from what it sounds like is WWE heard he was going to do the show for AEW, and then they unbooked him for WrestleMania, figuring that he's doing stuff for AEW. Then he says that there were some people behind the scenes who was trying to get him rebooked for WrestleMania, and then he kind of decided to do this thing again. So he's pretty sure that it's going to be off this time. But he also alluded to AEW being more lucrative for him, which makes sense because these are shots where he's actually wrestling, and it's not like once a year. Like if he's going to wrestle at WrestleMania, he's probably going to make 3 or 4 appearances before then, and that's it, depending on what they wanted him to do. And we don't know what they wanted him to do. AEW is bringing him in to wrestle. And Tony Khan is willing to spend the money in order to get him to wrestle. So it makes sense, a good business decision for Rob Van Dam to do work in AEW. And since he's not under contract to WWE, he doesn't owe them shit. He doesn't have to. I'm going to sit here and save myself for WrestleMania. He doesn't have to. It would have been nice, but we also don't know what the plan is. Like, we don't know what they planning to do for him, with him at WrestleMania. Was he planning to wrestle? Was he planning to put somebody in the Hall of Fame? What was he planning to do? We don't know. But apparently he's having fun tag teaming with Hook. And as long as he's having fun at his age, it's okay. I know having guys like Rob Van Dam and the Hardys on this show limping around, not looking their best. That's how we all know we're getting old, bro. I remember when Rob Van Dam was young and spry and can do anything. Now he's not so much. I know people who kind of turned on Rob when he went to TNA, although those many years ago. They thought he was slow and stuff then. But that was in comparison to like young 20s AJ Styles running circles around him. It's like, yeah, because I know, Rob Van Dam used to run circles around guys too. When you're young and athletic, you got them fresh legs. And then, you add 15 years to it. Then you add another 5. Then you add another 10. It's Father Time turns everybody into a job guy. So I'm glad that Rob Van Dam is still having fun. I'm not tripping about him not being at WrestleMania. Who cares? Make that money now, because he's in his 50s, and this kind of stuff is not guaranteed in the future. WWE will still want him for like video games and action figures and shit like that, so he's not going to miss out too much on that. But if he just wants to wrestle every once in a while and AEW is willing to pay for it, get off of it. Who gives a shit? Let the guy do what he wants to do. Timeless Tony Storm had a new movie. I didn't even bother to go look it up this time. I don't like the silent movies, so we're going to move on. Sting and Darby Allin were in the ring. Sting cut a promo, said that Darby was the best partner he's ever had. And he said he heard some people disagreeing with him, but he says that he believes that Darby is his best partner. Then he thanked Tony Khan for making the phone call, for bringing him to AEW, giving him this opportunity to wrestle one more time. Then Tony Schiavone took the microphone from him to introduce his gift, because Tony Schiavone is the voice of Tony Khan. So Khan won't come on TV to announce this thing himself. Instead, he's going to whisper in the ear of Tony Schiavone from a far distance. And they introduced his gift, and his gift, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. I gotta say, big pop for Ric Flair. Big surprise, great moment. Flair comes out, says, reminds everybody of Clash of Champions 1, Flair, Sting, 55 minutes, opposing WrestleMania. And Flair talked about creating magical moments on TBS with Sting, and saying that they made history. Said that Sting was one of the greatest wrestlers of all time and the nicest guy he's ever known. And says that he wants to have one more run with Sting, and he wants to run this thing or ride this thing out. They get in the ring, they're laughing. Sting asks for Flair to chop him one more time, and he does. That was a big pop for me too. So it was a great segment until Christian came out. Absolutely fantastic segment. Of course, me being me, the moment I saw Ric Flair, I was like, dude, he have to take Ric Flair with him? Like, I know, look, that's an expensive gift. Does he have to like feed Ric Flair and put Ric Flair in the trunk of his car? Like, Ric Flair is your gift. I'm going to gift you Ric Flair. That's a liability at this point, brother. Ric Flair probably got more debt than he got teeth. He certainly got more debt than he got hair. So, but I loves me some Nate. And I'm pretty sure he would not go home with Sting. Not without, a certain amount of assurances. Anyway, they turned this whole thing into an angle when Christian came out there with Sissysaurus and Nick Wayne. Look, I'm not going hard on Nick Wayne because he's a kid. Even though I know he's 18, he's very young. He looks dopey, but he's a kid. I mean, he's underdeveloped. He's small, skinny. I mean, it's not his fault. He's only 18. It's Tony Khan's fault for putting him on TV in this role and, with the way that he looks. In any event, Christian cut a promo saying that TK's gift to Sting was a suit, some gaudy chains, and a black liver. That's all Ric Flair has. Then he says that Ric Flair looks good. It's not even Weekend at Bernie's anymore. He doesn't even see the strings on Flair, which is pretty funny. He says that he doesn't believe in God because if God existed, Ric Flair would have been dead 20 years ago. I'm like, hold up. Christian is just going ham on Flair. What's this about? Like, is this personal? You're working stiff here, fam. Anyway, the long and the short of it is Christian challenged these guys to a 6-man tag. Of course, this will be excluding Ric Flair, who, probably literally cannot wrestle anymore, despite the fact that he wants to. I doubt Ric Flair could lace up the boots without, needing oxygen at this point. This led to Edge backstage. So, Renee Paquette asks Edge if he's changed his mind after seeing Christian's behavior and how Christian talks to Sting, how Christian talks to Flair, how Christian, behaves. Has he changed his mind? Will he now fight Christian Cage? And Adam was like, nope, not fighting Christian. That's my buddy. That's my pal. I'm not fighting him. So then Darby Allin walked in and says that Edge is being naive. He says that, I get it. I know it's like to not want to fight your friends. You think I want it? I got to say it in his dull Darby Allin voice. You think I wanted to break Nick Wayne's tooth? You think I wanted to beat up that kid? He's like my little brother. You think I wanted to do that? Sometimes you have to do what you don't want to do. And Sting starts firing up on Edge. Says that, throughout the years, he's traveled with some people and he's been able to see their true intentions. He's been able to see through people. He saw through Lex Luger. He saw through Ric Flair. He can see through Christian. Christian is a different man. Edge has to man up and fight that man. You need to do it before it's too late. You need to listen before it's too late. And Edge listened to Sting. He seems to be listening to what Sting said, and they did a great moment there with Sting trying to motivate Edge to apparently be their partner against Christian. And you know what? I like that idea. It's infinitely better than Flair. But it's the only thing that makes sense. So Full Gear is going to be Christian, Luchasaurus, and Nick Wayne versus Edge, Sting, and Darby Allin. I like that. Nick Wayne getting a hell of a rub being in there with Christian, Edge, and Sting. I mean, a hell of a rub. Same thing with Luchasaurus. But Darby's he's been rubbed so raw over the course of the last couple of years in AEW. You would think that Darby Allin would be a perfectly polished gem by now with how many rubs from CM Punk and other guys he's gotten, Jeff Hardy and all this stuff. And he still just feels like a mid-card guy. He still feels mid-card as hell. But it's a good look for Nick Wayne. He's going to learn some stuff, and I like that they're taking the slow route with Edge not wanting to fight Christian, but eventually Christian's going to push him over the edge, pun intended, and get him to actually oppose him. And it's going to lead to a really good segment in the match where the two of them are finally face to face. And that's good, So I say do that. That works. Jericho was backstage. He talked about Powerhouse Hobbs destroying him and that he still feels the slams, but said his ego was bruised the most. He said he's always had confidence. He's always been able to reinvent himself, but he never saw Hobbs coming. So it's time to start reflecting. Is it time to step back, or is it time to get stronger? He says, or maybe it's time for revenge. He says the Don Callis family there's a lot of people in that family, but I have friends too. And I have friends that are bigger than Powerhouse Hobbs. And you know what happened when he said that? It was like Doctor Strange. When he got that palm strike and his soul came out, that's what happened to me. As soon as he says, my friends are bigger than Powerhouse Hobbs, my soul lifted from my body, and I whispered in my own ear, he's talking about Big Show. I said, motherfucker. He's going to bring Big Show back. Jericho, please don't do this. Please. Affix your name to any list that you would desire. Please do not unleash Paul White, the Big Show, upon us anymore. I've been good. I promise you, I do not need that fat asshole on my television. Big Show is literally one of my least favorite wrestlers of all time. I cannot stand this. And I am a huge fan of Powerhouse Hobbs. I do not want Powerhouse Hobbs and Big Show in the same ring. I do not want that. I do not want that. That would be 100% against my will. And you should respect my rights as an audience member to not be subjected to Big Show. Nobody should be subjected to the Big Show. Each one of us, you included, listener, have a right to a halfway decent wrestler being on our television show. Why not Abaddon? I would actually take one of the bums from the Dark Order or something. Now, I don't like those guys either, but I would rather one of them than the Big Show. All right, I would rather wrestle the match my fucking self than the Big Show. All right, no, please don't do this. Oh my God, oh no. And I know that they're best friends too. They're neighbors, for Christ's sake. As soon as he said that, I was like, no. Oh my God. I know what he's doing. Stop it. Tony Khan, please put your wallet away. Stop threatening me with your wallet. Stop it. Please put it away, please. Oh my God, bro. No, Big Show. I don't even want to see Hobbs like power slam him or body slam him or suplex him or anything. I have no interest. None whatsoever. I promise you. I beg of thee. No Big Show. No Moss. Big Show. Please. Oh my God. I hope Big Show has like a double Charlie horse in both legs and he can't make it. You know, I hope it's gas. There's no gas in his car. I hope there's a gas shortage all over the state of Florida. Sorry, but if that'll keep Big Show in Florida and not going whatever Full Gear is, I have to wish that upon you. Okay? I hope that somebody slashes all 4 of his tires on his car and then his credit card don't work so he can get a rental. And if he tries to get on the airplane, they say, "What? We over the weight limit, can't do it." And he missed his flight. My goodness. I wish that he would get booked for the show, fly to the arena, get hungry, go to KFC, find out there's no chicken, go to another KFC, but it's a really long line, and he stays in that line because he's really, really hungry. And then by the time he actually gets that bucket of 16-piece original that he came for, his match is over. That's what I wish. Anything to keep that son of a bitch off my television. Anything. You want money? I will pay you, not the $50. I will just not watch the fucking show. All right? $25, no, $10. I could spare 10. $10. 10 whole American dollars for you to keep Big Show at home. All right? But I already know it's too late. The decision's already been made. Fuck! Moving on. The Elite defeat the Hardy Boys and Brother Zay? When did they name him Brother Zay? Why isn't he Isaiah Cassidy anymore? I don't know. This match seemingly lasted forever. It was just on forever. And I don't think I watched 10 seconds of it. Who are the elite? Is it Hangman Page and the Young Bucks? Is it Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks? If it was Nick Jackson, Hangman Page, and Kenny Omega, is it still the elite? Is like any version of them the elite? Is it like the Freebirds, or any 3 members of this group is considered the elite? Because that's what it feels like. I don't know why the Hardys are in this match, why they wrestling for the Ring of Honor 6-man titles. They haven't won a single match on this television show in forever. Poor Jeff. You know, I know he gets to wrestle with his brother. That's what he wanted. But, you know, Christ on a cracker. Look what they got him doing. He's teaming with this little black kid now. They've adopted this kid. Where's his partner? Like, what happened to that guy? Is that guy dead? Is Mark Quinn, like, secretly dead and I don't know? Like when Ortiz was popping up by himself all the time. And everybody was like, where the hell is Santana? Where did he go? Nobody even had the nerve to tell you that Santana was hurt. They just kind of like, you ain't noticed anyway. I'm like, wait a minute. I did notice, actually. There's another guy here. He's not here anymore. Where did he go? And I'm sitting here for the same thing. Mark Quinn's been gone all year. Did he break his neck? Can we get an injury update? Where is that guy? You know, did they fire him? Did he quit? Did he get married? He's on vacation or something? Where is this guy? Mark Quinn, are you alive anywhere in the continental United States? Come get your mans and get him away from the Hardy Boys, all right? Because that's a sinking ship. Watching Jeff put in this way, being used this way, puts me in pain. Like I said on Twitter, I think we will never see a wrestler go from being a teenage jobber to being a world champion again in our lifetime. I don't think we'll ever see that again. We saw Jeff Hardy when he was an underage jabroni in like 94 or 95. We watched him become a jobber tag team with his brother and then become a semi-push tag team when they were teaming up with Michael Hayes. And then they became a little bit more pushed as they teamed up with Gangrel. Then they became fully pushed tag team when they started doing the ladder match stuff. And then next thing you know, they're one of the greatest tag teams of, you know, a generation, you know, when it comes to the Attitude Era. By the mid 2000s, they're one of the greatest tag teams of all time. By the 2010s, they're damn near the greatest tag team of all time. But now we look at Jeff Hardy and we're like, man, this is the same Jeff Hardy who was world champion in WWE. Main event and pay-per-views in TNA. Top guy everywhere he's been for the last 15 to 20 years. And now he's losing matches in the middle of the show to the Young Bucks. And who was that they lost to recently? Aussie Open? Bro, this is painful, my guy. Like, I don't know. I think it's just the emotional attachment I have to, like, specifically Jeff, not necessarily to Matt. Giant heads, you know, stilted Matt. Who cares about him? His legs got rigor mortis already. Matt Hardy's already half dead. I really would prefer if he retired and went and fathered his children. You know, I'm pretty sure his wife would too, but she probably likes the money, so she keeps sending them back out there. But Matt Hardy should have retired 5 or 10 years ago. But they're still dragging that corpse out there. Anyway, this match was of no value to anybody. Swerve Strickland. He invaded Hangman Page's home. He was looking at something that I think a child had drawn something on the refrigerator. He snatched it off and ripped it. Prince Nana, he's in there eating chocolates and candies and stuff off the table. Swerve is putting his feet up on the couch. You know, they're just rummaging through the house, you know. So then Swerve hears a noise, goes to check out what it is, and somehow baby Hangman is still in there, but there's no other parent. There's no mom. Where's mommy? There's no mommy. You mean baby Hangman is in that crib and there's no mommy? Mommy's not there? You got no uncles? No big brothers? Nobody's there? It's just the baby in the crib by himself? Wait a minute. What's happening here? You know, what's going on? Anyway, Swerve, because he's on camera, he says that he told Hangman Page that it wasn't personal. He just wanted the spot. But Hangman Page wanted to take something from him, took his spot from him. Since he wanted to do that, there's going to be other people who are going to pay for his crimes. And specifically, he said that Hangman Jr. has to pay for his crimes. And then he takes out a Prince Nana shirt, which I think is a Prince Nana shirt. And he tells little Hangman that you owe me. And he's going to leave him this shirt to let him know as a reminder of the debt that baby Hangman owes Swerve Strickland. And I thought that was weird. That's very weird because if he's in a crib, he's not going to remember this. It's not going to happen, you know. And that shirt was too big for a baby, by the way. So I don't know. And Hangman's son is what, 2, maybe, like a 2-year-old. Okay, I'm dumbfounded by there being no adults in the room. I'm just dumbfounded by that. When Seth Rollins broke into Edge's house, what was this, 2 years ago? Ironically enough, I was just watching Crown Jewel from that year, where, you know, Seth Rollins is walking around the Edge house eating apples, laying all over the couch and everything. Nobody was home. And they pretty much let everybody know that nobody was home. It was just the fact that he had the audacity to break into his house and, you know, put his feet on the couch and eat his apples and throw stuff all over the floor and just be a degenerate in his house. Here, they have to take it to the next level and allude to the baby being in the house or the baby being in the crib. That's where I think you went into the absurd, you know, because nobody's going to believe that a baby is in the house by themselves. Nobody's going to believe that. All right. So I don't know. And now maybe there was an adult there, but I don't remember seeing no other adults there. So feel free to correct me in the comment section if there was another adult present. I don't think so, though. But he terrorized Hangman Page's baby. The baby wasn't actually shown, which is, you know, fine. Same time, though, they alluded to the baby being in the crib and Swerve looking down on him. I gotta say, I like Swerve, but this one might have been a bridge too far with the baby stuff. Maybe we could have just, like, you know, I would love for somebody to just do some random wanton violence in a guy's house. Like, you break into his house, start knocking pictures off the walls, spray painting on the walls and shit. You know? Like, I don't know if it's his real house or not. So, you know, pay somebody to let their house get, you know, somebody punch a hole in the wall or something like that, throw a TV or steal some shit. You know? I'm just tired of guys being very polite. Like, I'm in your house, dog. I'm about to eat your Skittles. I'm about to drink your orange juice. I'm like, well, that sucks. You know, it sucks that you broke into my house, ate my Doritos, and drank my Canada Dry. You ate my plums. Damn, that sucks. You eating my leftover shawarma bowl. That's no good. But at least you ain't put a hole in my fucking wall. At least you ain't did something that is going to cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars to fix. You know, that's what I would do. You have to paint that motherfucker. If I'm going to break in, I'm going to spray paint the walls and kick a hole in the door and all kind of crazy shit. You know, I would like for somebody to do that just because to be an asshole. And just to make this thing a little bit more, to spice this up more. This just sinister, I know where you live and I can just pop up whenever I want. That's nice. But I kind of want the old Randy Orton, I'm going to break your window kind of deal. Even though Randy Orton got thrown through the window. He broke that guy's window. All right. Is that the entirety? Oh, no, it's not the entirety of the show. I thought it was. I was hoping it was. Hikaru Shida defeated Ruby Soho for to retain the women's championship. It is announced then that Timeless Toni Storm is the #1 contender for the women's title. She didn't have to beat anybody. She just had to be Timeless Toni Storm and she gets a championship match. Look, I love Toni Storm. I've liked Toni Storm when she was in NXT UK. I can't say I liked her before then because I never seen her before then. But I was a fan of her in NXT. I thought, yeah, she got the short end of the stick on SmackDown. A fan. But the silent movies, I have not liked them. I do like the character, though. I still think this is too soon for her to get the title back. And it's certainly too soon for her to lose. I don't think you do a good job of getting her over. And look, I know he's trying to strike while the iron's hot and people are still very behind the Toni Storm character. I get that. But it's too soon, I think. I don't think you want to give her the belt right now because then you've ended the chase when it comes to the character. And if you beat her, she looks like a dumbass. And then everybody feels bad for having supported her. You know, this is why you should give people other feuds so that they can stay interesting, you know. But at least he's trying something with the silent movies. I haven't been a fan of them, but at least he's trying, which is better than he usually does. Certainly better than his main events. Orange Cassidy and Kazuchika Okada. Kazuchika Okada flew all the way from Japan to work this tag team match against Bryan Danielson and Claudio Castagnoli. Because I had no idea what the main event was on this show, I really was not interested. And it wasn't until I think I may have heard it through commentary that Okada was wrestling on the show. And I thought it was for a different show. Because I'm like, surely they're not going to have Okada come to Dynamite with no build-up to wrestle in a seemingly nothing mid-card tag team match. And then I find out it's the main event. I'm like, okay, well, at least it's the main event. And then I'm looking at it like, Now, I'm not going to say there's no story to it, because the story is that Okada broke Danielson's arm, and Okada tapped out to Danielson, and he kind of wants revenge. Fine. So why is he friends with Orange Cassidy? Well, Orange Cassidy needed a tag team partner. Why? What's the beef between Cassidy and Danielson? Now, I don't know. Is there a beef between Cassidy and Claudio? Maybe. I guess there is. There could always be. Apparently there is, because they're wrestling for the title next week. But I wasn't interested in this. I watched bits of the Danielson Okada stuff and kind of just waffled on the rest. Claudio pinned Orange Cassidy in this match, which led up to his championship match next week. Orange punch on Danielson, and Danielson went down and sold it. He was holding his jaw, holding his face, and it seemed like they were trying to do an injury angle with Danielson, where he would be hurt. And it seemed like there was an angle they were playing here. They even put on their somber voice. Tony Danielson's down. He's holding his face. Oh, it seems to be a very difficult thing going on here. We have Doc Samson. He's here. And a bunch of other people here. And they're looking at Danielson's face. Look at his chin. They're observing his chin. Is his chin dislocated? Is he got a bruised beard? It's like, oh, fuck. Excalibur. Get the fuck out of here, okay? Anyway, that was the show. Apparently, they're still building up some kind of storyline between Okada and Danielson, where Okada is trying to injure Danielson. He's pissed at Danielson for tapping him out. Okay. Look, man, this is Danielson's final year, apparently. They're just going to throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. He's going to be wrestling randos and doing random stuff. I don't expect there to be too many storylines involved with this whole thing. And I expect or suspect that Danielson's going to wrestle in the Tokyo Dome. And that's why they're doing this. I wouldn't be surprised if they're not trying to book Danielson versus Okada 2 at Wrestle Kingdom. I would not be surprised at all to hear that they're trying to do that. And if they're not trying to do that, well, then New Japan is fucking stupid. Why would you let them do the first match with Okada losing, and you're not going to do the rematch with Okada winning? That would be dumb. And if that's going to be the case, then maybe we should save Danielson's bumps. I know he wants to wrestle everybody he possibly can, but he's also fragile. Why run the risk of him getting injured and not being able to make that show? So I'm just guessing that he's going to wrestle at Wrestle Kingdom. But that seems to be where they're going with this. You know, that's just me putting my Booker man hat on. Why would you continue to book these guys against each other unless they're going to have another singles match? And when would be the best time for them to have another singles match? Well, Wrestle Kingdom. What is Okada doing in Japan right now? He's in a tag team with Tanahashi. Last I checked, I don't know if that's still going on or not. Well, I know that AEW still has 2 more pay-per-views before Wrestle Kingdom. Is it possible they could have wrestled on one of those shows? I guess. I don't know that they should do that, but, maybe Tony Khan looks at that and says it's money. But that seems to be where they're going with this, is Claudio is going to end up wrestling Orange Cassidy, which is going to be an absolute waste of his time and skill level. And it's amazing how Claudio managed to be in the same position in AEW that he was in WWE, just with more fanfare, I guess. But he's also being featured a little bit more, I guess that's fair to say. But AEW it was actually more noteworthy this week. I must say, they actually did a good job this week of doing stuff. The matches were still basura, but at least they were doing stuff outside the ring in terms of promos and characters and angles and stuff, that it kept me somewhat interested when the matches were not going on. When the matches were going on, I literally had anything else to do because I had no interest in watching anybody on this show fight. But what did you guys think? Let me know on the comment section below, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.